How's it going, everybody? Dan Martell here, serial entrepreneur, investor, and creator of SaaS Academy. In this episode, I'm going to share with you the biggest, most expensive mistakes I made in my 30s. And if you want to check out a previous episode where I talked about the biggest and most challenging situations, frustrations I made in my 20s, you can check that out. But today I want to talk about really, there's themes that I've seen previously. And what it's come to me is there's like when my 20s, there were like people, and this was very mindset focused. And the reason why I bring that up is because I believe that if you want to grow in life, you have to focus on your growth game. And a lot of it is going to be mindsets. And I like to joke with people, if I haven't seen you in a while, let me reintroduce myself. My name is Dan, because my growth game is so strong that I'm not really the same person you may have known before. Yes, it's me. My language, my conversational style might be the same, but the way I think and approach life is totally different. So I want to share that with you, and be sure to stay at the end, because I'm going to tell you how to get access to my Dream 100 training, an exclusive training that I only delivered for coaching clients. It's going to help you really understand how to build the peers around you to attack any problem or outcome you want to achieve in your life. Let's get into it. So giving you some context, when I turned 30 years old, I literally remember the night. I was hanging out with my co-founder, Ethan. We built a company called Flowtown together. My lawyer, Josh, who's an amazing dude, amazing coffee guy, and a world-class lawyer. And it was nutty. It was full on running around the Mission District in San Francisco. I think we might have just closed a round of funding. So 750K in seed funding from incredible investors. And that was the celebration, right? My birthday's at the end of the year, December 26th. So, January 1st, new year, 30 years old, kind of starting off on this first venture-backed company. I'd done a previous company prior to that. And then going all the way to the end, 39, 40 years old, which I just recently celebrated, and looking at not only building and exiting Flowtown, but starting another company called Clarity.fm and scaling that, raising 1.6 million in funding from Mark Cuban and a bunch of other incredible dudes, hundreds of thousands of calls, exiting that, and then starting one of the largest YouTube channels on the internet for B2B SaaS founders. And there's a whole lot of other businesses that occurred, and so much crap. I'm going to give you everything. My commitment in this video is to give you everything to let you understand how I made those mistakes and got into it, and the cost they had on my life, and kind of the new decisions I've made since going there. Let's get into it. Number one, dirty vision. So I say this is because I think that if you want to get the most out of life, you need to have a clear vision for where you want to end up. And having just moved to San Francisco when I was 28, starting Flowtown with Ethan, my co-founder, I honestly was not committed to the business. I was kind of half in. Originally when I started, I was a non-employee co-founder, so go figure. I was really just an early investor, and over time, I kind of led marketing, I led business development. And I say that because one of the biggest regrets that I had was making it hard on Ethan to have my commitment. I was still traveling the world, investing in other startups. And, even though my 40 hours a week were definitely incredibly valuable for Ethan as a first time, founder. Well, he built some smaller companies earlier, but this is the big one. I realized that my vision for my personal life wasn't clear, and because it wasn't clear, I wasn't able to make better decisions about where I focus and invested my time. And that probably cost me, I would say 30 to 40% more upside for Flowtown in regards to the exit number, because had I been more dedicated to that, we would have obviously created more value. I probably would have we made this big mistake where we depended on a data source through Facebook. Facebook changed our API. Our whole product went to zero. I've covered this many times in previous episodes, so you can go you search Flowtown story, Dan Martell, you'll come across it. And I think that had I been focused, we would have potentially gotten ahead of that. I don't think we could have avoided it, but it would have been less painful. So just being half ass, half in, and not having a clear vision for my life made it hard to make decisions. Number two, Steve Jobs effect. I'm admitting this to everybody on the internet. My team knows this. In the past, I was way worse when I was in my 20s. And what happened is I moved to San Francisco and I started listening to all these like startup podcasts and interviews and Stanford keynotes. And, I was hearing all these, stories about, driven founders and visionaries. And a lot of them kind of painted a picture of kind of a dictator and somebody that was, aggressively driven, et cetera. And I think I allowed those narratives to play out in the way I led and managed other people. So much so that I was definitely, very aggressive in my nature as a leader. And it caused a lot of friction amongst the team, so much so that Ethan was like, hey dude, like, I'll run the team, you go work on these things because it's really disruptive. I remember, about 2 years into the company, we were having a product meeting. It was after we got shut down and had to rebuild our whole business. And one of the lead engineers was saying, we need to run tests, we need to measure, we need to do lean startup. Like, this is something you preach. And there was just something about the way he said that to me. And he knows, if you're watching this, I apologize profusely. I freaked out. Like, I was very aggressive, and we had to can't stop the meeting and kind of diffuse things and de-escalate. And I just realized since then that for me, going forward, I'm just not going to be that person. I think that there is a better way to communicate that not only allows your top people to feel like they have a voice, make sure that they don't leave you, because people don't quit companies, they quit shitty bosses. And it just is a better energy for the overall team, because I'm the kind of guy, I wear my heart on my sleeve. Like, if I'm having a great day, people feel it. If I'm having a bad day, trust me, it's almost like the energy in the mood, or the mood in the room, just diminishes. And that is something that I did a lot kind of into my mid-30s, and then just decided one day I want to be a better leader. I want to show up in a more positive light, and I don't want to use fear and anger to lead. I think there's a better way, and I credit a lot of these incredible books, from Radical Candor to 5 Dysfunctions of a Team to Start with Why, etc. Like, literally any book on leadership, from John Maxwell's, etc. I read them, I digested them, I implement them into my life so that I didn't bring that forward now into my, I'm 40 years old. Number 3, lost deals. So here's the thing about being an investor, okay? They call it the anti-portfolio. These are the deals that you didn't do that you should have done. So for example, I was in the room with Travis. Travis Kalanick from Uber was an investor in Flowtown. We were in what he called the jam pad, working on product strategy for our company while Uber Taxi was being created. And I had all these rules about investing that I passed on, and what I've discovered since then, and so lost money, that probably cost me about $50 million when I look at a 25K check over time, $30 billion valuation. It works out to around that. Other companies like Teachable, I remember getting introduced to Ankur, the CEO and founder, and because I was going through a lot of stuff at the time with other portfolio companies, I probably invested about 25 at that time. And just a few of them were failing. And the thing that nobody tells you about angel investing is you spend most of your time with the worst companies. And not that they're bad entrepreneurs, but the ones that are having a hard time finding product market fit or a scalable growth engine. And I just immediately, I didn't even take the meeting. I may have taken the meeting, but made a 10-minute meeting, listened and passed on it. And Teachable went on to sell for $250 million about 5 years later. So, when I think of what's changed for me in my life is I am 100% people focused on my investments. I don't pass on deals anymore because of what's going on across my portfolio or even the market. That's the other thing, is I'm disconnected from the emotions of the market. If I find great founders attacking a problem that I feel I can be helpful with, I invest because I don't want to make those same mistakes I made in the past. And that cost me probably, $60-70 million in lost opportunities that I haven't made, in the last 2 or 3 years. So big lesson learned. If you're using your previous biases to not make decisions on investing in anything, even business, people, marketing, maybe you don't do Facebook because you had a bad experience in the past, you need to really reassess why that happened and make sure that it was not a person problem or a situation problem. It was specific to that decision or outcome or approach to making that decision that was the issue. Number 4, party too much. Yep, I'm admitting it. Back when I said I turned 30 And I ran around, the city of San Francisco, doing way too many shots and partying like it was 1999. That went on for years. And when I look back on the amount of time, people always talk about the money. I don't care about the money. I look at time. When I look at the Sundays laying in bed hungover, rolling into the Mondays, the midweek, 6 or 7 drinks at dinner, causing you to be foggy in your work and irritable, etc. And just like the impact on my life and the upside of those moments, for me, the straw that broke the camel's back was when Renee, my wife, told me she was pregnant with our first son, Max. And I made the decision shortly after that to never touch alcohol ever again for the rest of my life. And you can ask her yourself. Honestly, I don't think she believed it at the time. And even though I think I might have said, I got to quit for 30 days, I got to do sober October, et cetera, in the past, I knew better. I grew up in a household where my mom was an alcoholic. I ended up in rehab when I was 17 for hard drugs. I didn't drink for a while, into, when I was 23, 24, I decided to start drinking socially. And I knew that wasn't my style, and I didn't have the courage to make that decision. And when I look at the impact it had definitely on my 20s, but in my 30s, and then deciding to stop, and the gift that it's been for me and my family, I just didn't want my kids to grow up with a father that was potentially an alcoholic. I didn't want them to experience the things that I experienced in my household because of alcohol. And it is something that, to me, is fundamental to who I am. Now everybody just accepts it. They know I'm like the best person to have around if you're drinking because I'm the designated driver. And I honestly have not, I'm just as fun, guess what? I wake up the next day at 5 a.m. and I'm fine. It's so crazy the amount of more output and production that I can invest in my family and my health and my businesses, that because of, if you think about personally, I'd rather you do marijuana over alcohol because alcohol poisons your body. It's a weird thing. So anyways, I'm not here to preach. I'm just sharing with you my biggest mistakes. That is definitely one I let go on way too long. It has now been almost 8 years that I've made that decision. It was one of the best decisions I made in the last decade. Number 5, no coaching. Here's the crazy part. I started 2 failed companies at 17 and at 20. And it wasn't until I was 24 that I decided to give it another shot with this company, Spheric Technologies. But what was different about that time is right before I started the company, I actually hired an E-Myth coach. I read the book, The Entrepreneurial Myth by Michael Gerber. I hired a business coach named Bob, amazing dude. And I had a coach in my life for a while. I've always believed that if you want to move faster, have somebody that is supporting you, to give you feedback, to give you ideas, to hold you accountable. And for a while there, while I built Flowtown, I didn't have a coach. And what happened to me is it allowed me to think too small. It didn't push me. It didn't give me the perspective I needed that I know when I coach my clients that I give them, right? It's always about having somebody that's gonna push you to think a little bit more, stretch your belief systems, share perspective, stories, etc. that's gonna get you to take action. And I ended up hiring Marcy, an incredible coach. Her company's called Startup Happiness. If you reach out to her, obviously say hello for me. And Marcy, because what was crazy for me is I built Clarity, with no co-founder while my wife was pregnant. And after she gave birth, right before she gave birth, I ended up closing 1.6 million in funding. And then she found out she was pregnant 3 months later. If you've never met Irish twins, my kids are 11 months apart. If I didn't have a coach, I don't even know what my life would look like. I probably would have gave up. And then on top of that, my wife and I decided to move twice. Don't ask. Literally, it's almost like, that quote that says, if you want something done, give it to the busiest person you know. I just figured, we're already in it. Let's just keep doing stuff. Let's just say yes to every opportunity. And we built a summer home that eventually we moved back to where I grew up, and we built our longer term home. And while my wife was pregnant, it almost went sideways. And I will tell you, I didn't have a coach in the first part of my 30s. having a coach like Marcy, and then on since then, I now have 3 coaches in my life today. I'm a big fan of, investing in the areas of your life that you want to move forward. And I think that's the biggest thing that I've realized is if I want to, I'm training for a triathlon or an Ironman. So hire an Ironman coach. I wanted to learn how to kiteboard, hire a kiteboarding coach. Somebody to hold you accountable, set the schedule, teach you the skills, etc. You'll just get there way faster. Business is a no-brainer. The ROI on investing in yourself for your business, if you can't justify that, then you don't understand what an investment is. You think it's a cost, an expense. And to me, getting your mindset better so that you can lean into your future and opportunities with a different perspective, that's invaluable. So to me, not having a coach was probably the biggest mistake of just continuing the momentum I'd built in my life at that point, but not really making it. It could have been a faster, more aggressive slingshot had I continued to have somebody to push me to think bigger. So quick recap, the 5 mistakes I made in my 30s. Number 1, I had a dirty vision. Number 2, Steve Jobs effect. Number 3, lost investment deals. Number 4, partied too much. And number 5, no coach. As I mentioned in the beginning of this episode, I want to share with you an exclusive training called the Dream 100. You can click the link below to get your access. Essentially, it's the 100 people that I believe you need to recruit into your life to help you accomplish any outcome or dream, specifically for your business success. If you want to create a world-class SaaS company that's doing 10, 20, 50 million a year in annual recurring revenue, you want to have these 3 groups of people sorted out. Number 1 is the peers, 2 is the advisors, 3 are your mentors. I have a very unique approach to each one of those, how to recruit them. I cover all of that in the training, and click the link below to get access to that. If you like this video, be sure to subscribe to my channel, click the notification button so you get notified when a new video goes live, and also leave a comment, let me know what some of your mistakes or lessons learned you've had along your journey. I'd love to hear from them below in the comments. And as per usual, I want to challenge you to live a bigger life and a bigger business, and I'll see you next Monday. Always check the audio because you never know when the mic's gonna drop. Boom!